Hello guys, my name is DJC and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Revolution of the Daleks, and we're finally going to be reviewing it today. The episode is about a Dalek security drone that is being headed by Jack Robinson, and he's creating them to sell to the government and all that for, security purposes. Obviously, these Daleks are not going to sit quietly and be nice little obedient Daleks. They are going to revolt and try and take over like they always do. We've waited 9 months for this, and for me, I feel like it was worth it. I have some issues that I'll talk about later, but here's all the good stuff. John Barrowman was excellent in this episode. I thought he was doing a great job. Compared, he hasn't played the role since, End of Time? That was like 11 years ago. It's pretty impressive that he can just slip back into it, and he brings a real thing to the performance as well, and I'm also glad that they didn't, retcon any big finish or anything like that. The Daleks have really grown on me. I think that because they're man-made, they're built on Earth, I quite like that, and that means that I allow the sort of weird-looking design. It's good to know that the Bronze Daleks are still very, very much still the main Dalek, and I like how the episode focused on the purity and whether they were full of hatred and all that kind of stuff. I felt like that was very important for a Dalek, and I like the idea that whatever they are, they're going to kill everything that isn't 100% like them, and I quite like that because it's very Dalek-y. Although it undermined like the full hour, because you spent the hour with these Daleks thinking how is the Doctor going to stop them, and they just put some more Daleks in there. It was like fighting fire with fire. It's like they sat there and just went, we're not going to do an invasion. Like, Robertson was okay. I think that really this should be his final episode. I think he still plays the role quite well, and I do prefer him in this episode than I did in Iraq, because they've really toned him down a bit, which I really enjoyed, and they didn't do any references to Donald Trump. Well, not like name dropping him. The style of the episode, the way it was shot, was absolutely gorgeous. The way that you see Daleks flying in and all that kind of stuff was lovely. The shots when they're on the roof, the shots with the TARDIS sort of crumbling in on itself is a gorgeous effect, and must have been a very difficult simulation to run. And all that kind of stuff I thought was really, really cool, and definitely made the episode much higher in my listings of like my favourite episodes of her era so far, because I think it looked like the best we've seen Doctor Who in the last couple of years. I like that Yaz doesn't really trust the Doctor anymore. She fell in love with her, and I think that the whole Doctor Yasmin thing is definitely going to happen in season 13. I enjoyed the bit when she shoved it, even though it looked a bit like ridiculous and kind of like Hollyoaks. Talking about the other companions, Ryan and Graham, obviously it's their exit episode, and I was really expecting one of them to die. None of them did, sadly. Well, not sadly, but the Doctor said that they will never be the same people once they've done the travelling with her, and it's nice to see Ryan outgrow her instead of them just dying or, something happening to them that ruins their lives. It was nice to, just see him become a strong enough person by himself from the kind of quiet, not really know what he's doing young adult that we had to begin with. And it was nice to see that change. For Graham, there was less of that change. I think his change really happened throughout the whole series, and that was obviously getting over his wife that died. But, never mind. There's this lovely scene towards the end when you see the fam kind of actually split up, and it's their last scene together. I think that it was nice to have that moment, because it was a moment when I went, actually, this is not a bad TARDIS team. Maybe I didn't like their adventures, but together they were at least cared about each other. When the episode ended, I kind of realised that I did like the fam quite a bit. We can stop calling him the bleeding fam now, which is nice. But I liked that bit. I thought that was nice. And the Doctor's reaction saying, let's go back and, do it all over again, and Yaz telling him not to, I thought was a nice moment, especially for, her Doctor. It's just a shame that they left the episode. I felt like I was knowing them better and liking them a lot more, and they were given a lot more to do, and they were split up nicely and all that kind of stuff. I felt like this was the only episode where the whole massive TARDIS team really worked. My issues with the episode was that I felt like during multiple occasions in the episode, someone would say something heartfelt, especially during 2 points during this episode. This is a really weird thing. It's not really a criticism. It's just a weird thing that I've noticed. 2 points during this episode, in fact, this happens in like other Chibnall episodes, is that he will set up a character that is destined to be killed. And we know that they're going to get killed. But he likes to try and set up like we care about them. So he goes and gives them a family and says, how's your mother? And things like that. And then he kills them. That's it. What's the point in dedicating those lines to it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying to set up characters, but like that's such a poor excuse for like character. My other issue is that I felt like they got the Doctor out of that prison incredibly quickly. Really, she should have been in there for most of the episode. And after that, the whole thing kind of fell away. And, you know, the idea of the Doctor being in prison and all that is falling apart. And, you know, the Roof Doctor wasn't there and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like they wanted that cliffhanger, but then they didn't want to continue it into the next episode. Well, I wanted it to be an excuse to get the fam really to, you know, be dependent, but really they're not dependent at all because the Doctor had to turn up to really sort them out. There was also a couple of lines of dialogue and the script was a bit off in places and the pacing once again was quite strange in contrast, but I'll talk about the lines first. Like I said, the whole how's your mother thing and things like that I thought was quite off, and the way that people talk to each other was a bit like, this is not how people speak. And in certain moments I felt like they were literally just reading the script, and I felt, it's not the fault of the actors, but I felt like sometimes I felt like they were just speaking their mind because the writer needs to get across their mind at this point, instead of, you know, giving them the reason to actually say it or anything like that, like heartfelt danger, or they're having a heart, something like that. But no, they just sort of said how they're feeling. Like Ryan's just sitting on the side and just going, "You do like beanies?" What? I didn't like those little bits, and, you know, the bit when he takes the Dalek out of the container to incinerate it instead of just throwing the whole thing in. And my final one is the final scene. The last scene, we see them on the hill, and they're riding the bike like they were in the first time we met them. Now, after all that kind of nice sort of callback stuff, it felt like a very weird place to end the episode for me. It's all about their character development and how they've changed, and yet they're going back and doing exactly what they did when the Doctor met them. Felt weird. And the bit with Grace felt weird as well. It's not an ideal end that I would have wanted for Ryan, but if it's the one that Chibnall wants to give us, that would be to have Ryan actually be able to ride the bike, and that would be the ending, you know, a callback saying that he's changed, he's developed, and yet he falls off the bike. So he hasn't changed, he hasn't developed. He's exactly like he was before, but now he's been in space. Well, not in the respect of like bike riding and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, what do you think about that? It might be a bit of a stretch in terms of criticism, but I'm interested. Yeah, so overall, really good episode. Really did enjoy it. Elements that I didn't enjoy, hopefully, are things that I can brush off in time, and, you know, I can really thoroughly enjoy this episode. For me, definitely one of the best episodes, personally anyway, the best episode of her era, because I've enjoyed Jack and all that kind of stuff, even though I felt like some of the things were not what I wanted. You know, I've had 9 months to like cook it in my head of what I wanted to see. Of course it was not going to be that. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. I'm planning to do a kind of like what's Doctor Who going to do next tomorrow. I want to talk about John Bishop. I want to talk about Yaz and where she's going to go. I think that would be an interesting video, so I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Tell me your thoughts of Revolution of the Daleks down in the comments below, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.